Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
Richard and Michael debate. They deliberate. They dance. They twirl. They twist. They shine.
Gotcha.
This time around, we're discussing the Mount Rushmore of Henchmen, from the Dutch word henchman, which means not the real bad guy, but the custodian that cleans up for him or does his dirty work. Who chose it?
This was my topic.
Oh,
and I chose this because, the other night, Emily and I were watching a not very good movie. It wasn't bad. It was just not very good. We were watching Karate Kid Part 3.
Oh.
And the main bad guy of the movie is not Kreese, the leader of the Cobra Kai. It's like his Vietnam War buddy. And this guy is the most classic, like, late 80s evil bad guy you can think of. He's like big and rich and is into dumping toxic waste and has a long black ponytail and is like smoking a huge cigar, and he's just kind of like a real big asshole. But then he's got like he has like these two henchmen that are just like terrible. They're like bad henchmen. They're just kind of scummy underlings. And I immediately I thought, oh God, I could think of a million better henchmen than these two.
Yeah.
Just dipshits. They were just like dipshits. And that's what was like so disappointing. I mean, he was disappointing as a bad guy in the movie, like overall was disappointing. But like, I thought, oh God, what about a good henchman? What about someone that really comes in, steps up, and is just like, you know what? This is who I want on my team.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel like sometimes you get a henchman. He's a dollar store version of the bad guy. And in a B genre film, the bad guy usually isn't that dimensional to begin with. So here's this person who's.
I think if you've gotten to the point where you're like a bad guy who needs a henchman, you're like effectively like the CEO of a company, where you personally don't do a whole lot. You have a lot of like big ideas. And you need like people to just kind of execute your big ideas and like, go kill somebody or like, go do this and that. But me, I got bigger things to do. And a good henchman when you're a bad guy, that really sets you apart.
Well, I would love to discuss as we go along the varietals that are available therein for henchmen. Some seem to be a kind of bad guy in the making. Some seem to be this kind of mirror funhouse weirdo version of the bad guy, or some just kind of the big dumb idiots that Jet Li fights in the first reel of the film on his way to the bad guy. Some definitely are like the sub boss before you get to the main boss, and some are just like that guy's out there just doing things. Mm-hmm. I fascinated. Some of them end up turning good, and then we could see them redeem themselves. So Michael Thunkett, Richard starts. What do you got?
All right. Yeah. So going with this topic, I thought there was no way I couldn't have a James Bond. You just had to. And I don't know if he's the best in terms of quality of his work. But he is, I think, just about the only James Bond henchman to make appearances in more than one movie. I am talking, of course, about Jaws.
Awesome.
By Richard Kyle.
Yeah.
First appeared in the 1977 film The Spy Who Loved Me as one of Stromberg's henchmen, and makes a reappearance in Moonraker, the silliest of all James Bond movies.
Yes.
Which is why I love it so much. As the main henchman for Hugo Drax. And he is one of the henchmen who, as you just alluded to, does have his redemption arc in Moonraker and winds up turning the tables on Drax and working with James Bond to defeat him.
Yeah.
And winds up getting a hot French girlfriend along the way. So Jaws to me, partially because he was from Fresno, and growing up near Fresno, anytime anyone who is an actor or some famous celebrity that was from the area, there was like news stories anytime one of his movies appeared, like premiered. It was like a big deal. So to have the guy who played Jaws from James Bond movies be from Fresno was like a big deal.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, but I just even beyond that, I just love the look of Jaws. They had to go through several levels of prosthetics to be able to get his metallic cog-like grinding teeth right.
Yeah.
And it's just such a and I love the idea that he's essentially indestructible. You know, unlike a lot of other James Bond henchmen who there's kind of a pattern where Bond struggles to defeat him and then figures out a way to at the last minute. With Jaws, it's more that just he keeps defeating him and he keeps coming back because he is basically Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
In The Spy Who Loved Me, Jaws survives, and I'm quoting from Wikipedia here, Jaws survives an Egyptian structure's collapse on top of him, being hit by a van, being thrown from a rapidly moving train, sitting in the passenger seat of a car which veers off a cliff in Sardinia and lands in a hut below, a battle underwater with a shark, and the destruction of Stromberg's lair. That's just in the first movie. There's twice as much stuff that happens to him in the second movie, and every time, if you remember, like he would parachute out, and his parachute wouldn't work, and he'd crash through a circus tent and land on a trapeze and go springing off. And whenever he would land, he would just kind of dust himself off, straighten up his tie, get up, and just move out of there.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
That's a great investment in a henchman. Like, you know, some henchmen are a dime a dozen, and they come in and you get killed, and like, okay, you know, well, I spent all this money on the onboarding process of getting him through HR, and you know, he's hired and he's going through on healthcare. But like, when you like invest in a guy that's indestructible, like that's a long-term investment that really pays off time and again. That's great.
Yeah, and the fact that Hugo Drax in Moonraker basically hires Jaws as a free agent after Stromberg's death. I just love this idea that there's this bullpen of henchmen that are out there.
Yeah.
And that when Bond defeats one bad guy, that means that there's 20 henchmen who are now available for all the other bad guys to try and sort through and figure out if there's any that are worth keeping and which ones are just useless.
Well, that is something I have been fascinated for a long time. The HR recruiting, talent acquisition process for all these, not just bad guys, but the evil empires, you know, evil agencies, SHIELD, or Hydra, Spectre, you know, all these organizations
It's mostly ZipRecruiter, I think.
You think so?
Having gone through a job search recently, there's enough jobs that are listings that are very, very obliquely worded.
But
I think they're hiring for. I think they may be hiring for an international crime.
You'll see banks of computers with like highly trained, you know, Java applet programmers and all these people who are evil Java applet programmers.
Well, that's the thing. That the algorithm just captures everything, whether you have like Java in it. If you're evil or good or neutral or chaotic or whatever, like as long as Java's in there, they're going to just start recommending you for whatever job's out there. So
I do like that idea that Drax is like, you know, Stromberg before he died recommended you.
Right. You have to give references. Sorry, all of my references are dead or in jail.
Dead.
Don't mind the bullet holes. Don't mind the bullet holes through my CV. It's like
Richard Kiel was, for all intents, I've heard, a really sweetheart of a guy, like Andre the Giant, kind of just a gentle giant, very wonderful person. And seeing his Wikipedia said that he was, for 2 years, worked as a night school math instructor in Burbank, California. Can you imagine? Here you are near the film capital of the world, and you're schlepping around as a you know,
7'2" gorilla is teaching about fractions.
Yeah,
like,
teaching
what?
fractions, and that he booked the role of the Incredible Hulk and shot a little bit before they realized, no, we don't want tall Hulk. We want muscly Hulk. And
Right.
got rid of him. That's so funny. Oh, what a fun first pick. Yeah, as a kid, I think the more Bond was the first one that I saw in cinema. So I remember sitting through Moonraker twice because of some of the lascivious makeout sessions in space that I wanted to see again.
Sure.
But yeah, love Jaws in that. Okay, cool. It's kind of when you said Bond, I was just about to type Odd Job, but
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I'm glad we didn't pick him. Winfield, what do you got?
Okay, well, this unfortunately, Jeff, isn't going to really tickle your
Oh, let's skip. Okay,
your main
Richard, you
spot
go.
right here.
What a winning strategy you've got, Michael.
No, listen. The Joker and all of the 66 Batman villains had like this great team of just like goons and henchmen, and they were all named, for whatever dastardly deed was being done that week or whatever the Penguin was up to. It was always like, oh, come here, Fish and Ice Cube and I don't know, salmon or what, some dumb fish themed thing that the Penguin was doing, or and the Joker had his team of goons. But the one that really stood out was Bob the Goon from the 1989 movie Batman.
Oh yeah, was it Larry, Daryl, or Daryl? Which dude was it?
It was I can't remember his name. I'll have to look it up. But it's this guy that he's like, always forever the bit player, and as a henchman, you're always a bit player. But what I liked about Bob, the character of Jack Napier, who becomes Batman or becomes the Joker, and goes on to have his Joker crime spree, is that Bob is with him the entire way. He's with him when he's just kind of like this gangster working for Jack Palance's mega gangster character. He kind of has his back from the get-go, and he turns into like his number one goon. And the number one thing a goon must do ultimately is just whatever the boss wants. And he does it all from like taking pictures and, I'm convinced that Bob is the one that set up all of the Joker's quick turnaround henchman gear. Because like he gets turned into the Joker on like, midnight on a Friday, and that Sunday, all of his guys are decked out in great graphically designed Joker costumes and purple everything, this and that. I think Bob is the one that really kind of, I'm sure he's like a graphic designer as well as a goon. I'm sure he's a guy that like knows all the contacts to get like jackets made and all of the merch. Yeah. And then he does the thing that all henchmen have to do.
Do you want red roses or tea roses? Well, there's a difference.
Yeah. He's the thing that he does the thing that all henchmen must do for their boss, in the end of the day, is get killed for him. And he does it. The Joker's the one that kills him. He just shoots him in the face. He just kills him right out because the Joker's crazy. But he's just this guy that was there for him, through hard times and good times and crazy times. And imagine just having to be the henchman to a crazy person who says things that don't make sense. And you're just like, man, I got to figure out what he means by that. That's got to be tough. So God bless you, Bob the Goon, wherever you are now.
Yeah. Yeah, Bob the Goon.
Bob the Goon, played by Tracy Walter.
There you go.
Not
Thank
one
you.
of the Daryls.
Oh, he wasn't? No.
You might know him from Repo Man.
Oh, yeah.
He also was in a bunch of Jonathan Demme films.
Mm-hmm.
Also 9 different films with Jack Nicholson.
Wow.
Holy shit.
So he really was. He was like Jack Nicholson's henchman. He was just there on the set with him.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
That's wild.
Yeah. The world of... I'm forgetting that Batman became so campy and colorful that it's sometimes easy to forget that he's a detective. He works in crime in the seedy underbelly of an urban metropolis. And I was watching a mob thing on Netflix, and just like every other, this was about the mob in New York. And one after another, goons and like Louis the duck, and everybody's got a nickname, and they're all each one more colorful than the one before, and they're usually missing part of an ear or part of a nose and stuff like that. And so Batman didn't have to. Dick Tracy didn't even have to exaggerate it too much with mumbles and mush face and all these
Flat
guys.
top and prune face.
Yeah. Fun choice.
I do like too that the toy that came out with him was just like, it was so pathetic. It was just like, it was really just Bob the Goon, and like, what do you do? Like, can you imagine if that was the one that you got for Christmas?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I want a Batman toy, and somehow your mom just has the dollar bin at Target and comes back, and it's just like, I got Bob the Goon. I wanted Batman with a retractable utility belt, and now I gotta. How am I gonna pretend with this thing?
Bob the Goon with his removable hat or whatever he has.
Some of those Prince album cuts were kind of esoteric, so I'm surprised he didn't do Goon Dance or, Bob. The Bob.
Oh my God! Can you imagine the treasure trove of like unused B-sides that Prince had? But seriously, the Bob the Goon song. That's incredible.
Oh, I love it. Man, Freddie.
All right, you mentioned, Jeff. You mentioned all of the various New York Mafia Goombas and henchmen over the years. Mm-hmm. In real life, I'm picking one from the cinema and the book. I am going with Luca Brasi from The Godfather.
Yeah.
He's only in the movie for a little while, but boy, does he make a big presence.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, ending the Olive Oil War with his reign of terror.
Yeah.
Showing up to Connie Corleone's wedding and basically upstaging everybody by giving this giant wads of cash to her as a wedding present, and then getting his head garroted off.
Yeah.
So kind of a mixed bag for my guy Luca, but I think that he's somebody who is so violent that even Vito Corleone is a little intimidated by him.
Yeah.
Not just a little bit. He recognizes that he's got a psychopath working for him. At the same time, it's the type of industry where having a psychopath working for you can actually pay dividends.
Yeah. You got to have one on the payroll. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I'm choosing Luca Brasi. I think that he is the ultimate intimidation factor.
Mm-hmm. Which is, was he the one that the Godfather sent in to like pretend like he was switching over?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, that was the big error in Don Corleone's master plan, was like, don't send the biggest, dumbest guy to go act and pretend. It's like, we've seen it. You need the guy, the subtle, twitchy guy, not the big dun galoot that you can barely kill with a piano wire.
Exactly. That was a tactical misfire on Don Corleone's part, no doubt about it.
Well, he was getting older. He was slipping, so.
Yeah, exactly. And if you know that in the backstory of him in the novel is actually far, far worse than what they show in the movie. In the novel, he winds up impregnating a prostitute who he then kills immediately after he gives birth and forces the midwife to throw the baby in the furnace.
Oh, jeez.
So they actually made Luca Brasi a lot more likable character in the movie. As likable as a murderous psychopath gangster could possibly be than they did even in the book.
Yeah, I think when you don't show him actually killing anyone on screen, it's hard to be like, okay, how dangerous was this guy? Within the context of the movie, they can explain how bad he was, but if you don't see him, putting a baby in a furnace.
And the guy who played him, Lenny Montana, was a former Colombo family enforcer.
Oh, really? Oh.
So yeah, he brought definitely brought some realism to the part.
Huh.
Yeah, that's there is a little bit of a story about him interacting with the mob while on the payroll of the film. So that's pretty interesting. I imagine there was a lot of I know there was a lot of interaction with the studio and with Coppola. The mob didn't want to be portrayed. They didn't want the word mafia in it. They didn't want all that stuff in it. So, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. So he was also, I know, I'm just reading the Wikipedia like everybody else are. He was a wrestler beforehand. Big
Yeah.
career as a wrestler.
Exactly. So
Vern
certainly a
Gagne
varied
broke his
career,
leg.
Let's put it that varied career. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah. All right, that's a good choice. I think he was one of the characters supposed to be in 2, but like, forget what happened. Winfield, what do you got?
My second choice, I got a 3-for-1. It is
Whoa.
the 3 Storm's henchmen from the Wing Kong gang in Big Trouble in Little China from the 1986 movie.
Cool.
Thunder, Rain, and Lightning all work for Lo Pan, who is the kind of ancient Chinese kind of gangster overlord, runner of the Wing Kong gang, and capturer of green-eyed beauties from across the world, not only from San Francisco but from mainland China. And they, as their namesakes say, they can control thunder, they can control rain, they can control lightning, and they cast it about and destroy this other rival street gang. And what I do like about them is that there are moments when you see Lo Pan not dressed up in his like ceremonial kind of Chinese godlike outfit, but you see him kind of like rolling around in like just a wheelchair, looking 112 years old and decrepit. Yeah. And like all 3 of the guys are just like, yeah, they're wearing like business suits, and they kind of look like faux gangsters, like when they're not dressed up like Raiden from Mortal Kombat. I like that there's a variety of how they're depicted. They're like, sure, we're storm gods that have these martial art abilities, but at the same time, we also can wear pinstripe suits and just push a guy around in a wheelchair. There, it's the a good henchman can do it all.
Yes, they can shoot versatility.
They can shoot lightning, but then they need somebody that might be changing a bedpan. I mean, who knows? We don't see it, but I can assume. I can kind of figure out that they run the gamut of tasks for him, and ultimately they all, like a good henchman does, they give their life to Lo Pan to try to protect him.
Yeah, Michael, I almost put on my list was Al Leong, the actor who played the Hatchet Man of the 3, who is just somebody who has been a henchman in so many movies.
For sure, Die Hard, Big Trouble in Little China. You mentioned Lethal Weapon, Scorpion King, They Live. Yeah,
he was Genghis Khan, of course, in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Most people probably know him from. And that's just somebody who was just like a stuntman, who just kept getting cast in these roles as henchmen, and just wound up becoming the go-to henchman in Hollywood for the 80s and early 90s.
He just had a good look. He wore the mustache really well, and the combo mustache long hair thing. And he
to pull off.
Yeah, he wasn't big and imposing, but he looked always just kind of dangerous. Yeah, good choice. But you didn't choose it. So.
I didn't choose him, so fuck it.
yeah, so no good choice.
That's an interesting. I think if there's a theme emerging, the versatility, and ultimately the futility, or understanding the ultimate sacrifice that they will have to pay. But yeah, you're talking about even just like kind of a sartorial versatility. Do you look good in pinstripes? Okay, you're hired. Can you rip out a guy's heart and show it to him before he dies? But
I mean, I do love at the end, or close to the end. I think Thunder is the one that he is so overwhelmed with the loss of his master that he literally like blows himself up. Like he's so overwhelmed that he like starts to expand and turn this big hot air balloon, sort of. Was it Veruca Salt that turned into a giant blueberry?
Yeah. Right.
This sort of the ant from Harry Potter of Veruca Salt sort of just expands and explodes and eventually just blows up because he's so overwhelmed with grief. That's a good henchman. That they can't go on without you.
That's an interesting observation too. Is like what kind of spell do they have? Think of all the people who will give up their entire party or their entire lives for the current leadership here in the U.S. Like, what will these people do? What will these people do for this person? They'll do everything ultimately, or they're so blinded by a sense of mission.
What an incredible catalog of henchmen does this Trump presidency have. All of them are these goons who are killing themselves to fall on the dagger at every moment. Every lie that has been told, every misstep has been just whitewashed and passed over, and they're like, I wish I was smart enough to think of choosing any one of the assholes that work for this guy.
They're all so poorly written. Everybody's just like such a first draft of a bad movie. Like, this is like they're all straight to. All these movies opened in the drive-in and then are in VHS. All these characters, the cheap suits, the ugly haircuts, everybody just looks so poorly developed. Ugh. Okay. It is time to take a break and to invite you, the audience, to be part of the dialogue out on social media. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Let us know topics that you'd love to hear us discuss in the future. Let us know examples of topics we've discussed in the past that you think were better than what we gave. Hindsight's 2020. Let us know what you saw that we missed. Do us a solid. Go back, download, rate, and review past episodes on the podcast listener thing of your choice. We'd really appreciate that. It'd be super cool if you did.
All right, so my third choice is Grover Dill, who you may not know the name, but you would know him if you saw him. He is Scott Farkus's right-hand man.
Oh, yeah.
Story.
Hell yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I made this choice because every school, I'm convinced, every school in every class had this kid, a little twerp who thought he was tough because he was friends with a school bully.
Yeah.
Every school bully had like the little, remember from the Looney Tunes, it was like the big dog.
But yeah, it was Butch and I can't remember the other one. I'm going to look it up right now, yeah.
But yeah, the little yippy dog that would, hey, come on. That was basically, there was one of those kids in every school. And I think the Christmas Story did a fantastic job of showcasing who this kid was as the sort of sycophant and the hanger-on to the actual bully of Scott Farkus. I mean, this kid's like, it was a tiny, twerpy kid.
Spike the Bulldog and Chester the Terrier.
There we go.
Yeah.
Spike and Chester.
Yeah, great choice, for sure. Because it's always the little guy who's it's the kind of pilot fish that's swimming along in the wake and hanging on to the shark that is just trying to pick up scraps.
Yeah, you can see that almost like in the final fight scene when Scott is just getting his ass handed to him, and Grover's, hey, come on, kid, okay, that's enough. Like you could almost see like his life flashing before his eyes. It's like, wait,
he gets pushed. He gets pushed down. Yeah,
I have built my whole reputation and my whole persona on being best friends with the toughest kid in school. This is all getting washed away in one fair swoop.
Yeah. He has no sponsor anymore in his activity.
Just hung up to dry.
The dude, the only big thing he did other than that, Yano Anaya as Grover Dill also played the young Michael Anthony in the music video for Hot for Teacher. That's pretty awesome.
Hey, it's quality, not quantity, Mike.
Yeah.
Jeff.
That is a fun aspect of it. Do you feel like Grover Dill is waiting to hit a growth spurt or to find some kind of moment where he can develop into the stature of a Scott Farquharson and then ultimately take over? Or, sorry, Scott Farkas, or do you think he's just kind of enjoying this trip for a while? I wonder if he actually sees this as his future, his vocation, or he's just kind of so intoxicated with the power he gets from standing next to the big kid.
I think it's more the latter.
Yeah,
for sure.
He doesn't have to do that much work. I think that's it. The muscle guy is the guy that pushes him around. He's the guy that just, every once in a while he's told off, but he's just going to swim in the wake of whatever kid gets knocked down. He's going to get a good kick in.
Yeah.
And then, for every $1 that he steals, he's going to get 10 cents. And that's a piece of gum. That's a candy bar.
Good enough for him, yeah. I also appreciated that they styled him like a young Robert Blake from Beretta.
He does.
And he's just and the jacket and everything.
He's just missing a cockatiel on his shoulder.
Exactly.
What is in it for Scott Farkas though? Does he have somebody to carry his extra? If he beats up a kid and he's got a bunch of loot from it, does he need somebody to carry his extra swag? What?
I think it's more that if you're going to be a bully, you need to have somebody to laugh about it with afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
It's no fun to be a bully and humiliate somebody and then walk away by yourself.
Yeah.
And not be able to share the schadenfreude.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's probably in terms of how the relationship works. That's why Scott Farkas needs somebody like Grover Dill.
Yeah. It would kind of delve into the not to over psychoanalyze these two-dimensional characters, but do you feel like Scott Farkas is really actually acting up because he needs approval that he's not getting at home? I don't know.
Huh. I don't know, man.
Okay. All right, Winfield.
Okay, my third choice is Gogo Yubari from Kill Bill Volume 1. And she is one of O. Ren Ishii's goons, bodyguard, assassin, whatever you want to call her. But she's the one that is in the schoolgirl outfit that's swinging and I had to look it up, a meteor hammer around to go kick Beatrice Kiddo's ass. And she really does for the majority of the fight with her. It is this incredible kung fu battle sequence where she is just so dangerous and then also it's a very classic kind of James Bondy sort of henchman assassin character where they just have this very specific look and they have a very specific skill and they just are so dangerous in every aspect. She ultimately, meets her maker and gets her comeuppance and is killed by Beatrix Kiddo, as they all are. But I loved the performance. I loved how classically Japanese schoolgirl demure she was, at the same time just being deadly and psychotic. I loved the dual nature of whatever she was. The actress, I'd only seen her in one thing before that and then have never seen her in anything after, but I believe she just went on to do a lot more Japanese movies. She was in Battle Royale in a kind of similar role where she was just a very violent and deadly and just kind of a little bit psychotic as well. But there's definitely something that was captured by Quentin Tarantino in that movie where she's just this henchman that is sent in specifically to kill Kiddo, and then she doesn't because nobody can kill her, basically.
Mm-hmm. I've only seen the film once. I know that
Richard too is not a fan of good movies. So
yeah, that's true. I got yelled at by my wife for laughing at inappropriate moments during it because I thought it was a comedy.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I thought those characters all really compelling. But yeah, what I'm fascinated with is even with John Carpenter and Tarantino as both being people who take genre films and own them, put their own fingerprint on them, will screw around with scores and things like that to have a distinctive score that's either borrowing from other films in that genre or incorporating, R&B or stuff like that. And for Tarantino to be so knowledgeable and to actually pull characters that feel authentically from that genre while also blending it with 70s crime thrillers and things like that. I think it's super cool. Super cool.
I think what's also just compelling about her as a character is that, like, or just in terms of, O-Ren Ishii, she becomes like basically like the head of like the Yakuza there in Japan. And she is as deadly a killer as Gogo is, probably even more so. But it's this CEO nature that I'm still kind of obsessed with, where they still, even as she could go do the job herself, but she still feels the need to send her people out to get her. Like they still need, it's still a task that at some point you get elevated to a certain point and you need a henchman, and whatever it is, killing, assassinations, all of these things are just, they become so beneath you. It's just like, this is for somebody else to do, and I got to send in the crazy 88s, and I got to send this person in, and all the, it's just part of the process. Mm-hmm. And I think I really just like that about like the henchmen in general, is that in spite of how, final boss it is you are as a person, you can't fight them first. You have to be the last person.
Michael, I can't help but observe that your observations regarding the flexibility of the henchmen and their need to fulfill multiple roles and then ultimately pay the biggest sacrifice at the end. Mm. And then also your observation that it's almost like that delegation is an important trait for the big boss.
Yeah, for sure.
That is why we have henchmen, because they can't go do everything. Yeah.
Yeah. At some point, the big boss, whoever, has graduated to a point where their stature has so been so embiggened, to borrow a Simpsons word, that they can't do the little things, and they need somebody to do the little things.
Yeah.
They've got so much on their plate, and sometimes it's just golfing. And it's just like, I got to go golf. I got to blow off some steam or whatever. And then the henchman has to go do the dirty work. And, the henchman wants to work their way up in the company. Maybe one day they'll kill the boss and become... You don't see that a lot, though, in movies, of the henchman overtaking. Maybe that should have been a choice of mine. I have to think of one.
I have been rewatching some of the MCU films, and...
Oh, me too.
Captain America and Red Skull and his ascension through homicide is one of the themes.
Interesting.
So when we meet him, he is one of Hitler's henchmen, and Hydra is this burgeoning sub-organization, sub-Reich. But, to see his little toady, Dr. Who is he? Armin
Zola.
Armin Zola henching around for him through the whole movie is pretty fun.
I watched. I drank a glass of whiskey and watched that part in Endgame where Cap just goes crazy, 8 bonkers with Thor's. Hammer. And God, I can't say that I didn't cry in the middle of an afternoon on a Friday.
Oh yeah.
It's so well done. The fight is so, like, the build-up of, like, watching a bunch of these movies in a row and just seeing this tremendous payoff is so...
Yeah. Seeing Cap...
Thanos has a ton of henchmen. Mm-hmm. All these movies are replete with henchmen. All the MCU movies. You got a guy, they got henchmen.
He's got his big kind of thug. He's got his kind of articulate kind of emissary. Mm-hmm. He's got his maul. He's got all these, Yeah. All right, man. Freddie, your final choice is what?
Michael, did you say The Simpsons?
I did say The Simpsons. Oh.
My last choice is Homer Simpson.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Henchman to
That's
Hank
not who I thought you were
Scorpio.
going to say.
yeah,
Henchman to Hank Scorpio.
I thought you were going to say Waylon Smithers
sure.
to Mr. Burns.
No. I love this episode of The Simpsons.
Sure. Yeah.
You only move twice, and I just love the idea of the evil genius, the evil overlord, being a really good boss, like someone that you'd
Mm-hmm.
really want to work for. Really cares about his employees, has a free dental care and a stock plan to help you invest. Yeah, just a one of my favorite I guess one time only characters on The Simpsons.
Homer Simpson as the unintended henchman. He doesn't know that he's the henchman. Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
Homer Simpson doesn't know anything, so.
Yeah, Homer being Homer doesn't realize that he's working for an evil overlord. I love this episode so much, and I just felt I feel like they did such a good job of inverting, sort of asking the question that you asked earlier, Michael. Why would these people work for this evil
Mhm.
corporation that's clearly doing awful things? And maybe it's just because they have a good, they have free beer on Fridays and hot dogs and burgers. Maybe it's just a good working environment. I don't know.
Or it's
Likely.
like, you know that I don't know what it's from, but you've seen the GIF of it. It's the two Nazis dressed up,
Yeah. It's
and
the
they say,
Michelin Web.
Yeah,
yeah,
Mitchell Webb look. Yeah.
are we the baddies?
Yeah.
And it's just like, maybe you're just you can't see the forest for the trees, and you're part of the organization, and you don't realize what you're doing is so bad because it's just been all you've known. And Homer is very constantly doesn't know what he's involved in because he doesn't know what he's doing all the time. But he's so, in that episode, he is so eager. He is so finally valued by someone, and his ideas are finally heard for
Right.
no particular reason. I don't think Hank Scorpio actually. He's just Homer, as everyone is just a means to an end. He was a pretty good boss, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that after you've worked for Mr. Burns for however many years that Homer has,
Yeah.
any boss would seem like a good boss by comparison, particularly one who actually seems to care about his employees, as Hank Scorpio does. I mean, he buys him the Denver Broncos at the end of the episode, for God's sakes. That's a thank you for helping him to take over the East Coast.
That's pretty
Did
good.
you say, yeah, if you could kill somebody on their way out, that would be great?
Yes, he does. He killed a couple people on the way out. That'd really help out.
Yeah, that's a funny. Is that an Albert Brooks voiced character?
It is Albert Brooks.
Uh-huh.
Another
Yeah.
great Albert Brooks Simpsons performance.
Yeah, almost presaging a few Albert Brooks heavy performances.
Like in Drive?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
he's
I
usually
can see that.
not playing the authority character or dark character. So that's a cool choice. What do you got, Winfield? Wrap it up, rippity wrap.
My final choice, as Richard, sometimes it's funny when we both end on a cartoon, or both end like our final picks are just one that are just like kind of good guys that aren't really necessarily the worst possible people. But Kronk from the movie The Emperor's New Groove,
Oh, yeah.
who is
which I've never seen, and you're going to be mad at me for.
I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm just going to say, go watch it. It is a movie that is better than it should be when it's a movie starring David Spade.
That's a low bar. That's a low bar, Michael.
David Spade plays a very David Spady character, so it's not like he's got a stretch in his role. And Patrick Warburton plays Kronk in a role that really Patrick Warburton doesn't have to stretch in his role, because he plays that role in everything, where he's like this good-natured, kind of sweet. He's a cook. He's a Boy Scout. But ultimately, he's the over-muscular henchman to the evil Yzma, who's like this advisor / sorceress to the current emperor of the Incan Empire. And his character is one where he's kind of going along. He wants to be appreciated. He works for her. He's not evil. He doesn't quite 100% do everything that she wants him to do. He's trying to do his best. And at the end, yada, 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 he ends up helping the good guys out. But, it's kind of like this. Sometimes you're just in the position you're in, and you're just trying to make the best. And that goes with henchmen, too. Whether you're good or bad, sometimes you're just kind of going along with it. He doesn't quite kill people the way that Yzma wants him to, and he's just kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing here. She turns on him, spoiler alert, and I realize I said spoiler alert after I said the thing that...
Yeah, that's a terrible spoiler alert.
That's the opposite of a spoiler alert. That's a spoiler. I guess that's a spoiler. I guess you just accept it. But, I don't think Patrick Warburton as a voice actor, as a character, could ever play bad. He could only play goofy and dumb, kind of sweet.
There's something about his physical stature that makes him a little bit menacing, and he has the bit of the swagger that a hero or villain would have. And I think
he's a guy that played the Tick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's good at playing a big, dumb, kind of innocent.
Yeah. I think one thing that's surprising about Emperor's New Groove is how funny it is, considering it was also it was going to be The Empire of the Sun, I think. So it was going to be a dramatic Disney film, and it just took a turn. So
they spent a lot of years trying to make this. They spent like 6 or 7 years, and then it eventually came out, and it was very different from where they started. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Michael, you'll be excited to know that there is a straight-to-video sequel called Kronk's New Groove. Were you aware of this?
I haven't seen it. In my mediocre research, I did find that, yes, he has his own groove,
yes,
be it new or not.
Spoiler alert.
There was an animated TV show, too. So.
Yeah, spoiler alert, he's running a pizza place.
Oh, there you go. Well, he does make spinach puffs in the movie. He is like an accomplished cook, although he does screw up some poisoning aspect in the movie, which results in the Emperor turning into a llama. Spoiler alert.
Whoops.
Sorry, I'm gonna do the spoiler alert on the back end of everything that happens from going forward on this podcast, because the movie's 20 years old. 20 years old. Can you imagine? All these things that are decades and decades old are just disgusting now. Patrick Warburton has been my life for 25 years, which is weird.
Your a few observations in regards to characters not being fulfilled in their career choice or not understanding what the role of a henchman entails entirely, not being able to keep up with the versatility like Bob the Goon could. But I find it very interesting.
He was such a good goon.
He's such a goon. The character of Scourge in Thor Ragnarok, as played by Carl Urban, I find kind of fascinating too, because he both fits the description of kind of a hero and a villain at the same time, but he's really just kind of an arrogant asshole who loves the spoils of war and spoils of being a bully, and but isn't really down with all the killing and immoral activities that are part of that gig, and has a last minute redemption towards the end where he gets. It's also what many people do when they want to save their own hide is they
I was trying to think of trying to think of for one of these picks at least like a good guy who has a henchman, but that's not a henchman, that's a sidekick. I think that's the big difference. Is like when you're a bad guy, you have a henchman. You have someone that goes out and does the things you don't really want to do yourself. When you're a good guy, you have a sidekick who goes out and just helps you do the things that you can do on your own, but they just assist you in it. The Robin, I was trying to think of when you mentioned Thor Ragnarok. I was trying to think of whoever the Taika Waititi character of the rock guy is. whose name I know. I just watched these movies, and
kills me.
Korg, and he has his little scissors like aphid guy that's in a mecha suit, and it's like that's the closest you're gonna get to like a good guy henchman. Is like this little guy that kind of helps the other guy that's kind of good. That's just like this bug in a mechanical suit.
Mm-hmm. So let's pick some baddies. Let's pick some henchies. I thought.
Welcome to the Henchies, the 9th annual Henchie Wars, hosted by
Joe Pantaliano. So let's go with Jaws, since a lot of nostalgia there for Jaws. Love that guy. And since it was a three-for, let's go with the Three Storms Henchman, because it's always 3-for-1's never bad. And since, gosh darn it, it's diversity, I want to go with Gogo Yubari. And since I love that Richard acknowledged that children can be evil too, Grover Dill. So the unadulterated evil of a child is maybe the most menacing thing. Yeah. All right, dudes, thank you so much for listening. Right. Audience, appreciate it.
Yeah.
This, as always, is the Mount Rushmore podcast. I am normally Jeff.
Go out there and thank your henchman. If you've got a henchman, just, when it's henchman day, just go appreciate them before they get killed for you.
That's right.
Or before you kill them.
That's right, yeah. Tomato.
That was a great Red Skull thing. We fought to the last man. Evidently not. He shoots him. Okay, this is Mount Rushmore Podcast. As always, Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.